Snow fell slowly that evening, covering the small town of Maplewood in a white blanket. The houses looked sleepy under the dim orange glow of streetlights, and children's laughter still floated through the air after a day of playing in the snow. Inside a tiny wooden house at the end of Pine Street, 7-year-old Lily Carter sat by the window. Her cheeks were pressed against the cold glass as she watched the snowflakes fall. The soft sound of the radio played an old holiday song, and the warm scent of cookies filled the room. Lily's mother, Claire, was standing by the kitchen counter, folding laundry after finishing a long shift at the hospital. She worked hard every day, sometimes too hard, but never showed her tiredness when Lily was near. Claire looked at her daughter and smiled. "You should finish your letter to Santa, sweetheart. The post office closes early tomorrow." Lily turned from the window and nodded. Her small desk was already covered with crayons, glitter, and papers. Most children in her class had written long lists of toys they wanted, but Lily's letter was short. She picked up her red pencil and looked at the blank page for a long moment before writing in her neat, careful handwriting. "Dear Santa," she began, "this year I want one thing. I would like a dad." She stopped for a second, thinking about what that really meant. Her classmates often talked about their fathers, about fishing trips and bedtime stories. Lily had never met hers. Claire had told her that her father had left before she was born, and that life had not been easy afterward. But Claire's smile always tried to hide the pain. Lily did not ask more questions. She only dreamed that one day there might be a man who would take her hand and call her his little girl. She finished the letter, adding one more line at the bottom. "Please tell him we will make cookies for him if he comes." Lily folded the paper carefully, slipped it into an envelope, and drew a little heart beside Santa's name. She placed it on the edge of her mother's table. Claire came and saw the letter. Her chest tightened as she read the words, but she didn't want Lily to see her eyes glisten. She kissed Lily's forehead and promised to send the letter in the morning. The next day, the snow had turned soft and heavy. Claire dropped Lily at school before heading to work. Lily carried with her the small hope that her letter would truly reach Santa. She told her best friend, Katie, that maybe Santa could do magic even for wishes that were not toys. Katie, who still believed every word her teacher said, told her she was sure Santa could do anything. At the post office that afternoon, Claire handed the letter to an older male sorter named Mr. Harris. He wore thick glasses and smelled faintly of peppermint. He smiled gently and promised that Santa would get the letter in time. When Claire left, Mr. Harris placed the envelope in a large box, along with hundreds of other children's letters. It was supposed to go to a sorting center up north. But something unexpected happened that night. The post office was busy with shipments, and a volunteer group from a city charity arrived to pick up letters meant for the Dear Santa donation drive. They gathered every letter by mistake, including Lily's, by morning. Her little envelope was on a truck headed for New York City. In a tall glass building far away, Ethan Morgan was finishing another exhausting day. He was a billionaire whose life had grown colder than the winter outside. Money, power, and success had lost their meaning. His days were filled with silence despite the sound of phone calls and meetings. People admired him, but he lived alone in a world that felt empty. That same week, a large box of children's letters was delivered to his company as part of a holiday charity event. His assistant placed the envelopes on his desk, explaining that they were collected for sponsors who wanted to make donations. Ethan barely listened. He nodded politely, waiting for her to leave, then began sorting through the pile absent-mindedly. Colorful drawings, smiles drawn in crayon, and lists of toys filled most of the pages. Then he saw Lily's envelope. The handwriting was small, the paper slightly wrinkled, and the little red heart caught his attention. Something about its simplicity made him stop. He opened it slowly and read the words once, then again. "Dear Santa, this year I want one thing. I would like a dad." The words seemed to pull something deep inside him. His chest felt heavy, his throat tightened, and his eyes lingered on the child's wish. He had not felt emotion in years, not since losing his family in an accident that broke every piece of his heart. He had built walls around himself, believing that feelings were dangerous and love was fragile. But now, staring at the letter of a little girl who wanted nothing more than a father, he felt warmth for the first time in years. He placed the letter flat on his desk, sat back in his chair, and looked out at the city lights below. Snow was falling there too, soft and quiet. Somewhere in a small town, a little girl waited for Santa to read her wish, not knowing that it had traveled further than she could ever imagine, into the hands of a man who had forgotten what love felt like. Ethan could not stop thinking about the letter. It sat on his coffee table even after he had finished dinner. He lived in a wide, quiet apartment high above the city. The walls were white and cold, the windows huge but empty of any feeling. He had everything money could buy, but nothing that made him feel alive. Yet now, a small letter written by a little girl he had never met had taken a space in his mind that he could not ignore. He kept reading it again and again, hearing the words inside his head, a child asking Santa for a dad. It sounded simple, but it carried more sadness than he wanted to accept. He tried to put it away among the other letters that his company planned to donate gifts for. But something stopped him every time. It felt as if she had written it only for him. The next morning, while the world outside was covered in pale sunlight, Ethan asked his assistant Lisa to bring him the list of children who wrote letters. He told her it was for a special donation project. Lisa looked surprised, because he had never taken a personal interest in such matters. She handed him the paperwork, and he scanned for the name Lily Carter. When he found it, he learned that she lived in Maplewood, Vermont, in a small neighborhood near the woods. Next to the address, there was a note from the charity about the daughter of a single mother named Claire. Ethan asked for more details, trying to sound casual. Lisa explained that Claire worked as a nurse and often helped with local events to support other families. Ethan nodded, but his heart raced. He thanked her and quietly began to form an idea that made no sense yet felt right. Later that week, Ethan arranged for a donation to repair a local community center in Maplewood. He told his office it was part of a new charity partnership. Still, he had another reason to go there himself. He booked a trip, packed light, and left the city behind. As his car moved past the tall buildings and into the snow-covered countryside, he felt something he hadn't felt in years, something almost like hope. When he arrived in Maplewood, the town looked smaller than he imagined. The houses were neat, each glowing with holiday lights. Snow covered the roofs like icing on a cake, and laughter drifted from a skating rink near the square. He walked carefully, trying not to draw attention, but people still looked at him curiously. His expensive coat and shoes seemed out of place among warm scarves and mittens. He reached the community center, where workers were hanging decorations for a holiday fundraiser that weekend. Claire was there arranging tins of cookies on a long table. Her hair was tied back neatly, her expression calm but tired. She smiled at everyone who passed. There was kindness in her every move. Ethan stood quietly near the doorway for a moment, watching her. He had seen polished elegance in the world's finest places, but nothing compared to the quiet grace she carried. When she noticed him, she brushed flour from her hands and walked over. "Can I help you, sir?" she asked, polite but cautious. He nodded. "I am from the Morgan Foundation. We are funding repairs for the center." Her eyes widened. "That's wonderful. This place means so much to everyone here. Thank you for doing this." He smiled faintly. "You're welcome. It's just a small thing compared to what you give every day." She blushed slightly, unused to hearing such words. Then a small voice called her name. Lily came running from behind a group of children, her small boots leaving prints in the snow. She held a cup of cocoa and nearly spilled it as she ran to her mother's side. Claire caught her gently and turned to Ethan. "This is my daughter, Lily." Ethan froze for just a heartbeat. The name hit him like a soft shock. He bent down, his smile becoming real for the first time in a long time. "Hello, Lily." "Hi," she said, shy yet cheerful. "Are you from the big city?" "Yes, I am," Ethan replied. "It looks much better here, though." She giggled, then offered him her half-finished cocoa. "You can have some if you want." He thanked her and smiled again, feeling warmth in his voice he didn't quite recognize. Claire watched them with quiet wonder, sensing his calm gentleness, but unable to guess that this man had found their names on a letter meant for Santa. During the following days, Ethan kept finding reasons to visit the community center. He helped arrange supplies, even joined a few families to set up the holiday tree. He chatted with Lily whenever he could, teaching her how to make snow lanterns and laughing softly when she slipped on the ice. At night, when he returned to the inn where he was staying, he replayed the day in his mind. Their smiles stayed with him longer than he expected. He began to feel that maybe fate had not made a mistake with that letter. Claire started noticing how he seemed different from the others. He listened when people talked. He looked around with focus, as if the small gestures of life meant more to him than anything grand. She found herself thinking about him after he left each evening, wondering why a rich man would care so deeply about their little town. What neither of them knew was that their lives had already begun to change. The letter that traveled across states had done something even Santa could not have planned. It had pulled together the hearts of a lonely man, a tired but kind mother, and a girl who believed in magic. And with every passing day, the pull between them grew stronger, carrying them all toward a Christmas that none of them would ever forget. Winter in Maplewood grew deeper, and the days became shorter. Snow fell every few nights, covering rooftops and sidewalks in soft white layers. The town was alive with holiday cheer bells rang from shop doors. Carolers sang on street corners, and children ran through yards with sleds tied to their backs. Ethan stayed longer than he had planned. He told his office he was overseeing a charity review, but the truth was simpler. He did not want to leave. Each morning, he walked to the community center, sometimes bringing tools to help fix the old wooden floor, other times carrying boxes of donated coats for families. Claire noticed how he worked without talking much, focused and steady. One afternoon, she asked if he wanted to see her Christmas tree at home. It was tiny, only 2 feet high, placed on a small table near the window. Ethan followed her that evening after Claire gave her permission. The house was warm, lit by strings of colored lights. Lily showed him every ornament, explaining who made which one and why it mattered. Ethan stood by the tree, listening, feeling something inside him open slowly. "Do you have a tree?" Lily asked suddenly. He shook his head. "Not this year." "You should have one. I can help you get one." He had not celebrated Christmas since the accident years ago. The pain had been too deep. But looking at Lily's serious face, he felt something shift. "I'll think about it," he said softly. Over the next few days, Ethan started to change. He visited more often, sat with Claire while she served soup at the center, and helped Lily write a second letter to Santa. This time, she added new things like hoping her mom could sleep more and that someone kind might stay with them for Christmas. Ethan read it later when no one was around. His chest tightened, but he did not look away. One night a storm closed the roads. Ethan could not return to the inn. Claire offered him the couch for the night. He hesitated, but the snow was heavy and the wind strong. He accepted. The house was quiet. Lily slept early. Curled under a blanket with her stuffed bear, Claire brought Ethan an extra pillow and a blanket. "You don't have to stay just because of the storm," Claire said gently. "I know," he replied, "but I don't mind being here." She studied his face. "You're not like most rich men I've met." "I'm not like most people," he said. "I lost someone once. My fiancé. We were going to have a baby, but there was an accident. A car crash on a road like this one." Claire listened without moving. His voice was low, calm, but full of old pain. "I shut everything out after that," he continued. "I built a life with no feelings. But your daughter wrote a letter to Santa asking for a dad, and somehow that letter reached me." He nodded. "It was meant for Santa, but I think maybe it was meant for me too." Tears filled her eyes, but she did not cry. She understood now why he had come, why he stayed, why he looked at Lily with such care. "It's strange," she said. "We didn't ask for anything big, just a little hope. And you gave me something too," he said. "You reminded me that some things are worth feeling again." They sat in silence as snow fell outside. Inside, the warmth of the house, the glow of the tree, and the quiet trust between them filled the space where loneliness once lived. The next morning, Lily woke and found Ethan in the kitchen, helping her mother make pancakes. She grinned and ran to him. "You stayed?" He looked down at her and nodded. "Yes, I stayed." Not because of money or success, but because a child believed in him, and a woman saw the man behind the silence. The soul string between them had grown stronger, pulled tight by honesty, kindness, and a letter that had traveled across winter to find its way home. The snow lay thick over Maplewood as Christmas Eve drew near. Lights twinkled from every window, and the scent of pine filled the air. Children hurried down the streets holding cups of hot cocoa, and laughter echoed in every corner. The community center was busy with people preparing for the town's holiday festival. Claire helped to arrange decorations while Lily handed out candy canes to visitors. Ethan worked beside them, carrying boxes and fixing the lights that refused to shine. He had become part of their world without even noticing how deep his roots had grown in the small town. He heard people greet him by name now, something that had never happened in the city. Even the grocer waved when he walked by. For the first time in years, he felt the warmth of belonging. Still, inside him, a small uneasiness stirred. He knew that Claire and Lily still did not know the whole truth. Claire believed he had come to Maplewood to support the charity. Lily thought he was Santa's helper who repaired buildings. Neither of them knew about the letter on his desk in New York, or that it was the reason he had come. Every time he looked at them, the truth pressed harder on his heart. On the morning of the festival, Ethan tried to tell Claire, but the moment never felt right. She was busy folding napkins and setting up tables filled with cakes and pies. Her laughter filled the room as townspeople stopped to thank her for her help. Ethan wanted to protect that joy. He feared his truth might break it. The night came, and the whole town gathered in the square. The stage was covered in wreaths, and a tree stood in the middle, glowing with golden lights. Children took turns singing songs, their voices bright in the cold air. Claire stood near the stage, watching Lily sing with her friends. Ethan stood not far behind. Every time Lily waved from the stage, he waved back. As the music drifted through the air, it mixed with the steady fall of snow. It felt perfect, yet Ethan's heart beat faster with guilt. He looked at the people around him, at Claire smiling, at Lily glowing with happiness, and he realized he could not carry the secret into Christmas morning. After the concert ended, the crowd moved toward the cocoa stand. Ethan waited until the noise quieted. Then he took a step forward and called Claire's name. Her expression turned to quiet concern. She followed him away from the crowd, where the night was silent except for the soft crunch of snow. "Claire," he said carefully, "there's something I have to tell you." She looked at him, confused. "What is it? You look worried." He took a breath. "I didn't come to Maplewood by accident. I found Lily's letter, the one she wrote to Santa. Somehow it landed on my desk in New York." Claire froze where she stood. Her hand gripped the edge of her coat. "Her letter." He nodded. "Yes, I read it, and I could not stop thinking about it. I needed to know who she was. I needed to help. I didn't plan to pretend, but when I saw you both, I was afraid the truth would push you away." Claire's eyes filled with mixed feelings. She looked hurt but calm. The truth was heavy, yet she could see he meant no harm. "You found us because of that letter," she said slowly. "Yes," he whispered. "But you changed me because of who you are." For a moment, silence surrounded them. The lights from the festival sparkled behind their shoulders, and snow landed softly on their hair. Claire's voice was gentle when she spoke again. "I wish you had told me sooner, but I understand why you didn't. You've been kind to us. You made this Christmas special for Lily. I can't be angry at that." Lily appeared just then, running toward them with a candy cane in her hand. Her eyes were bright. "Mom, Ethan, where did you go?" she asked. Claire crouched down and smiled. "Ethan wanted to tell us something important." Ethan knelt beside her and took a slow breath. "Lily, I'm not Santa's helper. I found your letter by mistake. I read what you wrote, and it touched my heart. I wanted to see if maybe I could make your wish come true, not because of magic, but because sometimes wishes find the right person." Lily looked at him, quiet for a moment, then reached out and hugged him tightly. "You came because Santa listened," she said softly into his coat. Ethan closed his eyes. He felt her small arms around him and knew he had done the right thing. Claire watched them, tears glistening in her eyes, her heart full of gratitude. The three of them stood there under the slow fall of snow, while the sounds of laughter and music drifted from the square. Everything around them felt simple and right. Yes, the truth had come out, and instead of breaking their bond, it had made it real. For the first time in many years, Ethan felt peace. He looked at Claire and at Lily, and he realized that love was not something one could plan or hide. It arrived when a heart was ready to believe again. "Come on, you have to open your present too," she said, holding a small box wrapped in green paper. Ethan took it carefully and sat down beside her. Inside the box was a handmade ornament. It was a round piece of glass with gold paint shaped into the word family. He turned it slowly in his hand, speechless for a moment, then whispered, "It's beautiful." Lily beamed. "I made it at the center." "Mom said you didn't have a family tree, so now you can start one." He looked at her and felt something warm rise inside him. "Thank you," he said softly. "I think this is the best gift I have ever been given." After breakfast, Claire and Lily bundled up in scarves and coats to go outside. Ethan joined them. They stepped into the bright snow, and Lily began building a snowman tall and slightly crooked. She gave him a carrot nose and 2 shiny buttons for eyes. Ethan helped them find old twigs for the arms, and Lily added a scarf around the snowman's neck. Together they admired their work. As they stood outside, neighbors waved from their porches. Later that afternoon, they went back inside and sat near the fireplace. Lily fell asleep on the couch, her cheeks pink from the cold. Claire sat beside Ethan, resting her hands around a mug of cocoa. A calm silence wrapped around them. "I was afraid when you told me the truth," Claire said quietly. "But now I think everything happened the way it was meant to." Ethan nodded. "I think so too. That letter found me for a reason. Maybe I needed it more than Lily did." She looked at him with soft eyes. "Needed hope. You gave her that. And I think you found your own hope through her." He smiled at her, a real smile that reached his eyes. "You were right. Families aren't always planned. Sometimes they're discovered." Outside, the snow began to fall again, lazy and beautiful. Ethan stood up and looked through the window at the peaceful street. He turned back to Claire. "I don't want to leave," he said quietly. "Not today. Not tomorrow. I want to stay." Claire rose to her feet and stepped closer to him. "Then don't. This town could use someone like you. Lily could too." He felt his chest tighten in the best way. "Are you sure?" She nodded without hesitation. "I'm sure." When Lily woke up later, she saw Ethan still there. Her face brightened as she ran to him. "She didn't leave," she said cheerfully. He lifted her up in his arms. "No, I think Santa gave me what I asked for too." "What did you ask for?" she asked curiously. "A family," he answered, smiling at Claire over her daughter's shoulder. The day ended with the 3 of them sitting together by the fire, while outside the wind moved through the trees. The lights on the small Christmas tree blinked softly. The world felt whole and quiet. In that modest home, under the glow of warmth and kindness, they had found what each of them had been missing. Ethan no longer saw snow as a symbol of loneliness. It was now a blanket that formed around a new life, a new beginning. And when he looked at Claire and Lily, he knew that this was the start of something true. A little girl's letter had crossed miles of distance and found a man who had forgotten how to dream. It carried with it the power of love, faith, and the simple hope of belonging. As the fire crackled, Lily curled against his arm, and Claire rested her head on his shoulder. Outside, the snow kept falling, bright under the faint light of the winter night. Inside, hearts that had once been lost now beat together, bound by one invisible thread, the kind that lasts a lifetime.